Men do not sacrifice shit in relationships. Men don't sacrifice anything. I'm not saying that a man can't sacrifice anything. I'm just saying that in general, men don't sacrifice anything in a relationship. There is no expectation of a man to sacrifice anything in a relationship. The age old question of who sacrifices more, men or women, hands down, it is women. It's not even close. Women actually are the only ones that do sacrifice anything in a relationship. And I'll tell you, I want to get beyond having babies and all of that stuff. I want to get. I want to move past that, right? Because that's too easy. We know that that's also a sacrifice that women make. I'm gonna go beyond how women sacrifice their careers, how women sacrifice their health. I'm gonna move beyond all of that. I'm gonna tell you the real way that women sacrifice in a relationship, the way that most people, but men specifically, don't acknowledge. The way that women sacrifice in a relationship, overwhelmingly, the vast majority of the time, is she picks up the slack when the men don't want to do the job. So if things are supposed to be split equally, right, 50-50 in a relationship, where she does have the labor in the relationship, he does have the labor in the relationship, that way you have an equitable relationship. That almost never plays out that way in a relationship, right? So women end up doing 80, 90, 70% of the labor in the home and the relationship. And here's why that is a sacrifice. She never gets a return on her investment. She gives all of this time, she gives all of this energy, and she gets nothing in return. It's not like the man fills up her cup. What ends up happening is the man continuously just drains her and drains her and drains her. That is why that is a fucking sacrifice. Because by definition, that's what a sacrifice is. And why does she do it? That would be the question. She does it for the greater good. She does it for the greater good. Women actually are very altruistic. They are socialized to be that way, and I think that humans kind of naturally are that way, right? Socially. Men are taught to take advantage of that. Men are also taught that that is a woman's duty. A woman's duty is to sacrifice her life for you. So men don't think anything about it when a woman is giving, and he's taking. He doesn't think twice about that. He thinks, oh, this is the natural order of the world. So you know when people bring up the whole like, oh, nobody's pouring into me thing, that is what is going on. Nobody is pouring back into the woman, and she's just getting all of her life force drained out of her.
I'll start here. It's a conversation that's going on about who sacrifices, who doesn't, who sacrifices more, who sacrifices less. And I just want to say this. Certain things aren't even really good conversations because it's, how do I want to say this? It's childish to be saying who does more and who does less. I think the proper conversation should be around the fact that men and women are both called to sacrifice in a relationship. And I oftentimes, because I have another video to play, so I'm going to share this, then I'm going to play the other video. I oftentimes notice, actually more often than not, that when people are having certain conversations, they either don't include the Bible for whatever reason, or they manipulate the scriptures in the Bible to try to make their point. This gentleman said that men are taught to take advantage of women and their sacrifices. I can say this from personal experience. I was never taught that. Ever taught to take advantage of women sacrificing. I didn't see that growing up, and I don't necessarily. Now, I'm not going to disagree that there are scenarios in which men are taking advantage of women who are committed to sacrificing for the home, but I would be remiss if I didn't say that there are women taking advantage of men who are working hard and doing things to sacrifice for the greater good of the home and the family. I don't know this gentleman, but it seems like he's somewhat tailoring his viewpoint about what it means to sacrifice and who sacrifices more to a particular audience, i.e. women. But I'll say this: whatever circles you're in that's debating and or arguing about who sacrifices more, get out of it. Get out of it and find circles who are having conversations around how you can be better as an individual in your relationship and or help your person be better. That should be the conversation. But let me play this other video and then I'll give the rest of my commentary.
Men don't sacrifice. The last time this conversation was making its rounds, I stayed out of it, but now it's been coming back up again. And I want to speak on it because there's a lot of semantic manipulation going on with that word. Sacrifice in general is to compromise in a relationship that goes both ways for both men and women. I grew up in a house with a father, a hard working father. My mama stayed home with me and my brothers for a while before she went back to work because it was cheaper for her to just watch us than to spend the money on daycare. But every day I would be home scared for my daddy because my daddy did actual hands on blue collar work. And so the sacrifice that he made was his body, his time to make sure he could put food on the table for us. My daddy is a hard-working man. I know a man who sit on TikTok pandering to a group of women that he didn't even deem acceptable enough to marry would not think that men sacrifice because running your mouth on the phone is truly not sacrificing.
She's talking about the gentleman who was just in the prior video. For the purpose of context, that's who she's talking about.
Much. I'm sure the woman that you take that black money home to into another community, I'm sure she probably do sacrifice a lot more than you do by running your mouth on the phone on TikTok. But it's disrespectful to anybody who had a hardworking father in a household to hear somebody say that those men did not sacrifice. My daddy did a lot of sacrificing for our family. That's not to discount what my mama did, but at the end of the day, my mama wasn't out there in the heat. My mama wasn't out there hands on. I wasn't having to worry about was my mama gonna come home hurt, right? She cleaned, she cooked, she took care of us, and that's not to take nothing from her. But when it's compared to what my daddy sacrificed, it's not even comparable. It's not comparable at all. Let me tell you a quick story. When I first started my career, I was in a default area with foreclosure. I spoke to a man on the phone who was out of work. He had been out of work for months. The house was in foreclosure. I was working with him on a repayment plan to try to get the house out of foreclosure. Now, this man made a lot of money. And so one would say just go get another job. And that was what my mindset used to be back at that time. I was like, why don't you just go get another job? Until I realized the severity of when you're making $30,000 and $40,000 a month, it's not as easy to just go get another job to pay that type of money to be able to get everything back in order. And so when I initially spoke to this man, he called me up crying like a baby. And that's when it really set on me, just how heavy the load was for him with taking care of a whole family and everything being on him. Now, after the first phone call with him, I would call him, never got a hold of him ever again until it was told to me that he ended up taking his life. All right, he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle not being able to provide for his family. So to sit up and hear y'all try to discount what a man sacrifices for his family, it is disrespectful. Whenever you enter a relationship, it's a compromise on both ends, some more than the other. But at the end of the day, a sacrifice has different meanings for everybody. But anytime somebody gives up something in exchange for somebody else's well-being, it is a sacrifice on their behalf.
I agree. I think she stated it well. As I said, I thought that gentleman, his conversation and just the way he was tailoring his points seemed like it was going towards a certain direction, specifically women, and it just felt like it was pandering. I agree with her when she said the sacrifices that her dad made does not dismiss the sacrifices that her mom made. And even though she says that her father sacrificed more, and it's not even close, when you think about it, what her mom sacrificed allowed her dad to sacrifice. So it worked. And sometimes in life, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a friendship, whether it's with family, whether it's at work, sometimes you end up doing more. But because you're a team, because you're in it together and in it to win, it at times you may end up doing more. But that's how it goes. It's not to then say, I did more than you, so now you owe me, or you did less than me. It's not to point that out, but it's the whole goal is to move the needle forward and whatever you got going on. And I'll say this and I'll leave it at that. I'm a man of faith. I believe in Jesus Christ. He paid the ultimate sacrifice for all of us, so that, the Bible says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him would not perish but have everlasting life. Jesus gave his life for us. And there's so much context around what he did, so much context around the gospel that makes it beautiful, that shows his actual sacrifice and how powerful it is. But I just want to say, getting caught up in the weeds of who did more or who did less is for the immature. Whatever you have going on, however you're able to sacrifice, however you're moving the needle forward in life, in faith, in romance, in friendship, with family, whatever it may be, it matters. And don't let anybody get online or get in your ear and tell you otherwise. But I think it's a great conversation to have on here. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Don't forget to connect with the brand online at www.there'shopebrand.com. We have merch on there as well. You can grab some merch like this shirt. Also, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. And if you would like to donate to this brand and ministry, you can also do that. That's in the description as well. Until then, I'll catch y'all in the next video.